Federal Reserve is doing here, trying to really cool off the economy by raising those interest rates. But that in turn makes it more expensive to borrow money to buy a house, or, you know, for companies to do any type of expansion.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Beth. I mean, the Federal Reserve is doing what it can to fight inflation. Their biggest tool that they have is by raising interest rates. And, you know, it's not important how we got here. What's important is that we're here, and it's a problem. And we're going to be seeing interest rates go up significantly. They already announced just 2 weeks ago a 75 basis point increase in their federal funds rate. We're going to be seeing even more increases, I think, over the next year. It's the only way. The reason why, just to make sure and not to, you know, insult anybody's intelligence as to what they know what's going on, but there is really an oversupply of money in the system right now because of all the stimulus payments and liquidity that was provided. And if all that money comes crashing into the system as it is right now, it's too much supply of something, you know, decreases the price of it or the value of it. And that is what inflation is. So the only thing the Federal Reserve can do is say, let's make it more expensive for this money to come into the system. So that will inhibit some people from getting loans and getting funding. And because of that, it will hopefully decrease the supply of money in the system and hopefully make that dollar, you know, more valuable as it is. Right now, the only thing the Fed can do is raise interest rates, and we're going to be seeing the impact of that on a lot of our budgets over the next year, for sure.
But when you take a look at America right now, there's 1 in 5. You know, some of the studies are showing 1 in 5 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now, so they don't have that wiggle room.
Yeah, they don't, and I've seen those same studies as well, and it's very, very concerning. You know, the average hourly wage in the past year has gone up 6%. Which is a lot more than it has in the past. But inflation is running like 9%, Beth, you know? Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you want to know where inflation is going, don't just look at the consumer price index. That's kind of like in the past. Focus on the producer price index. It gets released by the government about a week after the consumer price index, because that's telling you what it's costing to make stuff, which is ultimately going to come down to the markets for us to buy. Right now, the producer price index is 11%, which means that the cost of these goods to be made is, you know, continuing to go up. We're going to see over the next, you know, coming months, and those workers living paycheck to paycheck, there's really going to be some challenges for them to make ends meet.
And the other challenge that we've really seen, one, help wanted signs everywhere, right? We're dealing with labor shortages. And then you also have the supply chain issues. You can't even buy what you want when you go to the store.
Yeah, there is, you know, because of supply chain issues, you go into a lot of stores and there's shortages of some stuff. And, you know, although some of those issues are starting to relax, and which is good news. I do believe that the supply chain issues themselves are going to start working themselves out over the next few months, particularly as we hopefully put COVID behind us and other countries like China and other countries in Asia get themselves fully back on track. So not as concerned about that. I'm more concerned just about the general increase in prices, which has been caused by these supply chains, but also because of, like I said earlier, all this liquidity that's in the system itself. The government has got to fix this.
What do small business owners do when they're paying more, you know, whether it's because, you know, diesel went up, so their ability to get those, you know, goods in, now their prices are up. How do they pass that along? Is it a shrinkflation thing where you're going to make the size of what you're giving smaller, or do you raise your price at a time when people can't afford it?
So you mentioned shrinkflation, and that is absolutely something I'm seeing across the board for a lot of businesses. If you go, and big brands as well, if you go to Walmart and you buy, you know, paper towels, you're getting less paper towels for the same price than you were getting like a year or two ago. The same thing with garbage bags. The same thing with, I think Burger King now is like, so they're selling less chicken nuggets for the same price than they did. Like, you get like 8 of them instead of 10 of them. That's what companies big and small are doing, is they're delivering. Beth, I got a chicken pot pie at a local restaurant, and I could swear there was less chicken in it than what I remember. It's affecting all of us.
Right.
But that's what businesses are doing, is they're trying to deliver without increasing prices. But you can't get around the price increases. And my only advice to my clients, there's a lot of tactics that you can have, but one thing I am seeing is that my best clients are leveraging their data. So they are doing price increases, but they're looking at their accounting systems and they're saying, we're going to increase based on this product line, or based on, you know, products that have lower margins, or this customer gets this increase, maybe this customer does not. The one advantage that businesses have today that we didn't have back in 1980 we've got a lot of data. And my smartest clients are really pinpointing their price increases to their customers so they can keep their best customers happy and try and bump up margins on some product line that might need that extra help. So very, very specific is what they're trying to do to navigate their way through this.
Because we know right now small businesses employ more than half of the workers in this country. So, they're really getting hit by this.
The thing is that, as you and I both know, most of us expect this. I mean, we go out to eat or we go to stores or we're buying stuff online and we all see that, that prices have gone up. So in many cases, that's all a company can do is just turn around and raise prices on its customers. And we have this expectation that we're going to continue to see these price increases, and we're just trying to adjust to that. But listen, those businesses, like I said, that are targeting their price increases and those that really have their overhead under control. I mean, they really know what their expenses are going out. They've really got control over their costs. They're the ones that are most nimble through this. The one good news I have for you about is this. This is not the first time we've seen inflation. There's been inflation since the times of Cleopatra, So, businesses adapt. They work their way around it, and many will survive this. It's going to be a challenge.
So, do you think this is cyclical, and this is just a normal part of? Yes.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, this is not going to be a long-term problem. The issue that we have is that the medicine needed to cure this is going to be a little bit tough to swallow. And it could very well result in a downturn, potentially a recession, which I think we'll see in the next 6 months in order to, resolve this. Sometimes a recession can be a good thing though, Beth. I mean, if there is a recession, that means there's less demand for products. Businesses don't like that, but less demand brings down the prices of those products. And that's a potentially good thing when it comes to inflation. And if the Fed makes its moves with interest rates, it's going to be tough with mortgage loans, for example, and other small business debt. But again, that will help bring down the supply of money and therefore hopefully get inflation under control. So it will happen eventually.
Do you think then we're going to see the end of this great resignation? We know all these workers have been shifting. Workers have had the power. If we do end up 6 months from now in a recession, would that power shift change?
What? No, you're absolutely right. And it's funny when you talk about the upside, the downsides of recessions. Besides, I say from an upside, the temperance of prices. But I will tell you this much: a lot of companies, if there is a recession, will be laying off workers. That's what big companies do, and we're seeing this in the technology industry right now. Thousands of workers being laid off now because we're seeing a softening in real estate and construction. Watch. There's going to start to be a lot of layoffs, not only in those industries, but in the financial services industries that provide mortgages. That's an opportunity, though, for small businesses. We're begging for workers. There's been a shortage of them, and now there's going to be more of them coming on the market in the coming months. And I think that's a good thing for small businesses looking to hire. And in my opinion, as a small business owner, that's a good thing for employees, too, because you want to work for a small business because it's just a better standard of living, in my opinion, working for a small business. That's just me. So I think there could be some upsides to a recession.
What about retention? How do companies make sure they keep the workers that they want, that they've already spent the time, training, that, know the culture of the company?
There's two big things that I see my best clients doing to retain their employees. Obviously, they've got to keep parity with compensation, right? So you got to go to the websites like Glassdoor and PayScale and make sure that you are at least in the range of a competitive compensation for your people. You can't ignore that. So that's certainly number one. Not easier said than done. I get that, but you've got to make sure you're in the range. But you know what, Beth, that I've found, I know you must have found this in your job as well. Like, it's all about the culture of where you work. Not only the people that you work with and the environment, but the flexibility that you have in your scheduling, and the ability to work from home or have a 4-day work week or work a 10-hour shift so you don't have to work a full day on Friday. And I see a lot of smaller companies, they're providing that kind of stuff. And one of the best advantages you have as a small business is you don't have the bureaucracy and all the policies that bigger companies have. So you can let your employees be that much more flexible.